Like, it could just be wanting to be like someone. You know?
It's funny how some people are hat people.
I'm not a hat person, even though I'm bald.
Hello, I'm Chris Lisserman, and welcome to Sparks, a podcast by Interactive Workshops. In every episode, we talk about something we can spark in work and life. From how to spark sales, to how to spark skills, to how to spark collaboration, so that your team actually meets together, sometimes in the same place, call it an office, so we can actually get some work done together once in a while.
Amen, brother.
We could call it in-person working. Working. Yeah, for sure. It could be a new phenomenon.
And we've got our special guest with us.
We have not just Jonna Circum today, but Ross Hardy. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Head of EdTech and professional hat wearer.
Thank you. Yeah,
that's Head Tech.
Head Tech.
Head Tech.
Very good. Very good. And very relevant because we are going to be talking about how to spark humour.
I can't actually believe that this topic makes it into a work-based podcast.
I know. That's the question we're going to ask. Should we be being funny? Should that make its way into our offices, into our meetings?
The role and value of humour for work, for organisations.
Exactly that.
And in that case, I mean, this is slightly awkward.
Why did you invite me? I kind of feel like, remember that other guy from BBC, Guy Gomer, who was invited in on that BBC news recording, and he was there for a job interview for like cleaner or something?
Yes.
Right now, that's kind of how I feel.
I'm wondering whether you're here to help us communicate on the podcast your excellent insight, or whether to laugh at us, or for us to like laugh at and demean you.
To be honest, I'd rather be in Sam's position over there if I was here to laugh at you. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to offer whatever insights I have, however large or small they may be.
But you are here, and please don't take it the wrong way. You understand the funny money. What it means to be funny. You understand what it means to make humour.
I don't really understand how I could take that the wrong way.
You're a bit odd.
A funny guy. Oh. You don't take that the wrong way.
No, but you've chosen how to.
This is bullying. That's what it is now.
You choose how you go about your life. You're very thoughtful, and your brain is whirring about the storylines, and you can see what's really happening.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Well, it's these special spectacles I have. They just look straight through things.
But we're very excited to have you here. But all joking aside, I do think you're an excellent guest on this topic because of your knowledge of how the structure of humour and how it works. So what's the gig, Chris? What are we trying to do here?
So in this episode, we're going to talk about how to make a joke, the craft that goes into making a joke, whether that's going into a presentation, workshop, meeting. And we're also going to talk a bit about why we need humour and whether we should try and be funny or maybe stop trying to be funny at times, and whether we go too far at times as well with our joking and our humour. But first, Ross, Jonna, how are you?
Ross, how are you?
I'm good, actually. Yeah, I'm pretty good. I feel like if I had been asked any other day to jump in on a podcast and offer my thoughts on humour, then I think that today was the right day for that. I feel like I'm in a good space.
Caught you on a good day.
Caught me on a really good day.
Hopefully maybe a funny day.
There's already insight there, which is to be able to laugh, you've got to be in a good space. So you're open, a bit like the LinkedIn open to work. You're
open to humour.
Open to humour.
Today, but today only, and then take it down if you're not.
Yeah, and then sometimes I have to put it's complicated.
Applications may close for that, and then suddenly you're not open
I'm
to humour.
hiring for humour, guys.
Are you hiring for humour? We may come back to that later, actually. But firstly, John, I want to ask you, what is the value of humour at work to you as a CEO?
Well, should we try and be more economics than that?
We can do.
Be more
economics.
I didn't realize this was the Freakonomics podcast.
There's one-to-one correspondence between discretionary effort and company profitability.
Okay.
So all of company profits are generated by the extra that people put in. It actually makes a lot of sense. If you think about economics and you get paid for what you do fairly, then the cost of labour would match up with the cost of what you were delivering.
Yeah. And
there'd be no profit.
Sure.
So the profits in organisations come from the discretionary effort that people put in. Right?
Makes sense.
And if you do all the graphs, there's a one-to-one correspondence if your company, on average, people put in 10% extra effort, not necessarily time, but of themselves, their extra zip that they put in, your company on average makes 10% profit. If they put in 20% extra,
company makes 20% profit.
Yeah. So people's relationship with work, companies and organizations that people don't put in the extra effort, they will basically break even. And ones where people put in extra, they'll basically be profitable. And you can see why, because if you've got people that are positive putting in more and people who enjoy working there and want to put in more, put in their best selves, then they're going to do better work and do more work, maybe do more work more quickly as well, enjoy it more. And part of that is having a great working experience. And part of that,
It's humour.
Oh, yeah, that's the punchline, yeah.
Are you saying that humour is one of the products or something you put in to try and encourage that employee satisfaction, enjoyment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. A product or an input? Are you saying or is it kind of both?
I think I'm saying it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm saying.
You can put it in and get it out.
I come into work, I wear a smile and I'm ready, joking aside, ready to laugh, happy to make a joke.
Open to humour.
But I would say consistently, I try and do that every day. I was actually, that's partly why we got Ross here, as we were thinking through this topic. I realised that with each person that I work with, I try and have our own little in-jokes.
I've noticed that actually, yeah. You work on that deliberately,
I'm tracking around, I'm trying to build rapport. So humour may be part of my rapport building strategy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build rapport with people. To do that, we've got to have something we share in common. To do that, I will try and build a little joke that we have. Or an activity in common. Yeah.
Is that a defense mechanism? Do you think that using humour, you both do it. I've seen you both using humour to try and build a relationship. Is it a defense mechanism or is it something proactive?
I can definitely speak to this because you two are both into your personality quiz things, aren't you? And I think you both done the Enneagram.
I had to have mine because my heart was...
Yeah.
You had your Enneagram removed, didn't you?
Oh, that explains it.
I had to have my Enneagram removed. Yeah.
It's a painful process, but
yeah, absolutely. Discovering your personality type. Although I'm more of a skeptical kind, but I do feel
especially Enneagram doesn't have much to back it up in terms of science, but it is interesting.
It feels great.
Yeah.
And one of the things that when doing that process kind of alerted me to is definitely my aversion to conflict and my way of dealing with conflict. Is almost always humour. The first time I got broken up with, I joked my way through it.
Did you laugh in their face?
What kind of things do you say to yourself?
You know what? I feel like I might have erased that memory. But I do remember specifically just kind of laughing and joking and just trying to sort of make the atmosphere a little bit less tense. Humour is absolutely the best remedy for a situation of conflict or of tenseness. Not 100 times out of 100, but certainly, personally, I would say 90 times out of 100.
Yeah. I use humour as a defence mechanism, definitely.
Do you?
And my family, who have known me the longest, actually, some of those members find it annoying. And they're savvy enough to know that me just making a joke and being silly actually is shutting down conversations that they want to have.
Bit of a warning sign maybe rather than
and there's people also I make a joke about things to do with them to try and dampen down certain aspects of their behaviour that I find difficult. And so it is a both proactive and reactive defence mechanism. And I'm conscious of it as a leader here actually to not make jokes at the wrong time because and not to always do it.
Yeah.
And to take things very seriously when it needs to be taken seriously.
Is there a place for teasing in the workplace, or does that cross a line into workplace bullying? We've got to be careful about these kind of things.
You've got to think about the kind of organisation you're in, haven't you? I would like to have an organisation that people can be open and trustful and respectful. But in my opinion, and this may be wrong,
could happen.
In my opinion, it's only when you slightly overstep to some extent that you actually know that you do have a trustful relationship, that you can be yourself. The organisation has very sort of clear ethical standards and guidelines. If I don't overstep a little bit with you, how do I know I can trust you? But if I do overstep a little bit and we do something a bit silly or naughty, not, I think, unethical, but then I know I can trust you if we share a little joke that maybe is between us, but not at the expense or exclusion of other people, and not stuff that's demeaning, and not stuff that's misogynistic or racial slur or anything like that. But the things that are a little bit overstepping, it's like oversharing, isn't it? When people start telling about parts of their private life that they don't want to go around the office. It's a way of building connectedness, and I think humour can be like that as well.
And I think just going a little bit outside of a comfort zone, or saying something that's slightly unexpected or unusual, especially, you're the CEO, so you saying something like a junior member of staff would say is an unexpected crossing of a line that's not inappropriate.
Exactly.
And a kind of a theory in joking and humour is the circle, circle, square idea.
Is it? If you say so, is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
So you'll see this where it's the setting up of a joke, and you see this all the time in sitcoms and things. Something happens, normal. Guy walks into a bar. Something happens, circle. He asks. The bartender asks him why the long face. Square, something unexpected happens, and then the joke comes out, he goes, nay, he's a horse, long face.
Is he a horse?
Yeah. Terribly told joke, but you see the idea, circle, circle, square, something normal, expected, something normal, expected, something unexpected, funny, because our brain goes, I was expecting a circle, and then it was a square.
Our brains actually love, don't they? They love the unexpected ending. In fact, all movies that are good have that. All jokes have that. My favourite movie, The Breakup, guess what happens at the end?
That was an unexpected. I was not expecting your favourite movie to be The Breakup.
Well, the clue is in the title, isn't it? The Breakup. But it's a rom-com where at the end, guess what happens?
Do they break up?
They break up,
Ross actually watched it after his first breakup to have a little laugh.
I had to laugh through it.
It's a change of paradigm for rom-coms. My wife absolutely hates it because it didn't have a happy ending. But that's the point. It made it. I thought it was brilliant.
Really unexpected.
Oh, great! Actually, they don't get together at the end. Yeah. Whereas every other movie, the hero lives. The world is put back to rights, or the couple get together.
On the flip side, we hate and resent and remember the films that happened in an unexpected way, had an expected ending.
Like what?
Or just where you can see it coming from halfway through the film. This must happen to you, Ross, all the time. You've got a smart mind.
Thank you. That's very kind. But no, I do definitely get that. I do find, perhaps as well because I spend so much time on narrative in my outside of my extracurricular work. I'm a writer as one of my pastimes, and I read a lot of books. And anytime that the plot kind of goes in a direction that I expect it to, it doesn't satisfy. But then, as you say, when it hits that square at the end.
But you're also a very, very famous Dungeons and Dragons master, and you even get flown intercontinentally to go and run Dungeons and Dragons.
I have run Dungeons and Dragons in the States.
That also needs the same.
It needs that little bit of humour, doesn't it?
But it needs the same unexpected ending.
Yeah.
In fact, this is a really good segue because I think one thing that is incredibly important when you're trying to create a humorous environment, and especially in Dungeons and Dragons, we use the idea of improv, the kind of the key tenets of improv, and one of those is, and you've all heard this before, is the yes and thing. So if you want to make someone feel like they're funny and that you're having a good kind of a conversation, an interaction that is humorous and that is going in interesting places, I think that the yes and principle is incredible for that.
The ability to go with what's happening.
Yeah. So,
I've also trained in improv. You've trained in improv. I've trained in improv.
So, could we even run it now?
I'm going to improv an answer. Yes.
See, this is it. That's it. You've done it. Yeah.
Not trained.
The ability to go with things. So I think how to be funny. A lot of humour is structural. You use circle, circle, square, or square, square, circle.
Circle, circle, square. Doesn't matter actually.
I think that my understanding of how humour works is that you have the setup and then you get an unexpected ending, and often that's using phrases or sentences. What I observed once when I went to a Michael McIntyre show.
Master of observational comedy.
Yeah, UK comedian. Was that he told the same jokes that he told on the panel show.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
So it's the other way around. So when they're on panel shows and you think they're extremely funny, they may often be doing a short piece of their stand-up routine. So it's actually very well rehearsed. And people think I'm relatively funny, but I just do the same jokes all the time. Like Chris and I were walking out yesterday and it was raining. And I said, these showers that keep happening at this time of year, it'd just be incredible if there was a handy, pithy expression for that type of rain.
Funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But a reused joke, right?
It's the same. Every single day I make a joke like that. I just like the fact there's little phrases that we use, and I like to pretend that I don't know what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the person, then you leave it hanging in the air, no pun intended. And then the penny drops. And bada binga, bada bumba.
A little aha moment.
There's a little cheeky giggle.
Unexpected.
One that my partner and I have is whenever we see bunting around related to some kind of event, like for instance, unfortunately this now places the podcast in time, but this is happening before the King's coronation. And so there's a lot of bunting everywhere. One of our favourite private jokes to each other is just looking at the bunting and going, some kind of sporting event going on or something like that. We bring that one up quite often.
Yeah, good. Yeah. It's a great, that kind of assumption that we don't know what's going on when we do. I would like to say that I've got some good relationship advice for you. You mentioned the breakup earlier and now your joke with your partner.
Yeah.
Laughter is an important part of relationships. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to read from the internet for a moment the hallowed words of ncbi.nlm.nih.gov/pmc/articles/pmc4255480.
I think something's wrong with Jonna's Enneagram.
People can type that in.
What it says, which we probably all know, is that positive emotional expressions have been associated with a down-regulation of negative emotions in conversations between couples. Couples who reported the highest levels of marital satisfaction also showed the most skillful use of positive affect, e.g. laughter, to regulate negative emotions during a difficult conversation. Laughter is therefore not simply a common emotional vocalization, which we use to establish and maintain social bonds. Laughter may also simultaneously function as an essential behaviour to help de-escalate negative emotional experiences.
There we go.
Thus
an essential behaviour.
Endeth the lesson.
So it's not just this throwaway thing that is a nice to have, but is actually essential to building strong relationships.
Bonds.
Like a marriage.
Yeah.
Or like a relationship with a colleague who wants to be strong.
To build a team, let's imagine, if news is news, if the reverse is less interesting. If the reverse is more interesting, news isn't news. Let's imagine a team that doesn't have any humour in it.
Not a place you'd want to be. Is it really?
Your relationships would be stilted, formal, maybe political, defensive, guarded, unnatural.
Yeah.
Just couldn't work, could it?
No. Struggle to see a way. Yeah.
So it must be essential.
If it's this essential behaviour, is it something we can grow in? Because I think there'll be people listening and watching that think, well, I'm not massively a funny person. It's not really me, not my forte. And I feel like it's just for funnier people. Should we be trying to be funny? Ross, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there is a way to be funnier, even if you don't think you're very funny. I think that when you start to take yourself a little bit less seriously, when you when you allow kind of maybe you try to think a bit less about what people are, how people perceive you. I think that in itself, just being in a completely smooth kind of conversation, completely smooth interaction, I think that is just inherently kind of funny. Just the atmosphere. So I think that's something people can definitely work on. Is just thinking about how much do they care what people think of them.
You have to say it's a risk, isn't it? And certainly, like, I don't really care. And I think a bit like in football, I always tell my son this, but the big teams, they take 10 shots for every goal. I think maybe humour is similar, which is just try a few things and especially if it's self-deprecating or humour's an ability to demonstrate also some level of self-awareness. So it can be a good way to show people that you've got a sense of perspective. But just have a go at a few things. But I don't think it has to be jokes. I think it could be juggling. It could be a funny walk. It could, there's a lot of things that you can do that aren't
funny timing.
Yeah, sitcoms are full of things that aren't jokes. They're not verbal. They can just be. It can just be expressions and
a lot of it visual.
Yeah, it could just be wanting to be like someone.
Funny hat.
Is that what I look like?
No, it's not.
When we started our US office, I wore this hat to every conference call I had with them for about 3 months.
It's funny how some people are hat people.
I'm not a hat person, even though I'm bald. But I wanted to, create an in-joke with them. And I had to do something visual because it was a lot of web calls.
Yeah.
But I also read Steve McQueen's book once, and he said every good actor, every character they create, you need a prop. So he's very famous in The Great Escape. He had his baseball that he was throwing.
That's Steve McQueen.
Yeah?
Okay. Oh yeah, I was definitely thinking a different. Anyway.
I'm quite a lot older than you. He's a very famous actor in the olden days. He had but if he was doing a cowboy, he would have his guns. So humour can be having the wrong prop, for example. Or let's say you're giving a presentation. It could be how you relate to your clicker. You could worship it and, press it. You don't have to.
You could take care of it like a little hamster, and that would be funny because
you could ask. If I'm running a workshop, or something, I might ask someone to look after the clicker or the time or the. Sometimes I ask people to write on the flip charts for me, or there's a lot of improv related things that you can do that are involving other people in something that makes the situation funny. Hence the word sitcom, the situational comedy. Another example is. Misinterpreting things that are big as small and small as big. So, for example, if say we're looking for our revenue target this year, and we've got an enormous amount of growth that we're going to try and achieve, 1%, or the reverse. Yeah. But there's this kind of structures. Another one like that is answering yes when someone is expecting no, or answering no when someone's expecting yes. You'll see there's some great videos of people doing interviews with. What are those shows called where someone sits on the sofa?
Like with a host.
Yeah.
What are they called? Late night Saturday show.
What are they called, that genre? Jimmy Kimmel. Saturday Night Live. Them things. What are they called?
When you said people sitting
Graham
on the
Norton.
sofa, I was thinking Gogglebox.
No, it's not a panel show. It's a...
Saturday Night Live. Anyway.
Talk show.
Talk show.
Thank you.
Let's get this man a fourth mic.
So if you watch talk shows, there are some brilliant examples where the interviewer says, so were you ever prepared for this fame? I mean, it's just grasped you. Yeah. And then everyone laughs. Or I saw one, they had stepped into the talk show host role and they said, I saw last week you were the host of the talk show. They got a photo. Well, I mean, it's not as easy as it looks. It's a lot harder than it looks, isn't it? No, it was pretty easy. So reversing...
An unexpected answer.
But reversing the situation and reversing the expected answers and playing that as a straight bat. One of the things that people say to me that I love more than anything else is never completely sure if you're joking or not. So I use I haven't been theatrically trained like possibly Ross has, but I use the straight face without a hint of a smile, the deadpan, to say something, and then they start to process. They can only work out whether it's true or not after.
There's actually a similar concept to the yes and, which is also the no but.
I actually, that's what they used to call me before I exercised my glutes.
An example of potty humour. There we go.
There's a glute machine at the gym now, so they don't call that to me anymore.
It's a low form of humour, but it's there. We've covered
It's always there. And also, I mean, it's just another example. We're talking things about inside jokes and things that you perhaps wouldn't say to someone else. Toilet humour and other things. They're a way of talking about things that we otherwise wouldn't talk about. They're a way of broaching things that we otherwise couldn't bring up.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about creating those bonds, as a communication skill, to be able to use humour to bridge things that we may not bring up normally, or to talk about things that might be difficult, I think it's a fantastic tool.
And one thing I want to come on to, Jonna, you're a dad. Ross, you're not a dad that we know of. I'm a dad. I wouldn't want to label certain jokes as being as a part of, associated with a particular gender, because that would be gender stereotyping.
That means you're very woke, Chris. Well done.
Yeah, very woke. But dad jokes.
Parent jokes?
Parent jokes.
Carer jokes. Carer
We
jokes.
definitely can't make jokes about carers.
Yeah.
Puns, wordplay, another form of
People
joke.
think that puns aren't funny. I just think puns are hilarious.
Is that because you're a dad? Ross?
I think that's
Help
a good
us out.
example of humor for oneself. I think
Right.
that dad jokes actually, and I think it's kind of dad energy. I feel like anyone could be a dad, really. Anyway,
Yeah, you'd make a great dad
Yeah.
energy person.
I mean, I think I've inherited a lot of
That's
dad
why you've got
energy
a
from my
cat.
actual dad. That's true. Yes, and I do look after my cat and call him my son. So, I mean, but I do think that that dad jokes almost serve a different purpose in that I think the whole point of a dad joke is actually to have, in some ways, a bit of a almost like a negative thing. Is that you're embarrassing your child, aren't you? But in a way that's sort of lighthearted, makes the other parents laugh, but the child goes.
Groans.
Well, I'm going to blow your mind here.
I'm looking forward to this.
Dad jokes, the reason why they get stereotype is because the children have heard the joke so many times before. It's not that the joke's not funny. So this is another thing about jokes and humour. You've got to know your audience. You can't use the same joke twice and expect to have the same impact. But so if the dad goes around different kids, people think other people's dads are hilarious. But your own kids, they've heard your jokes before. And so then as soon as they realise you're telling the joke again, they've got no payoff of the unknown. So they start saying, oh, dad jokes. So the problem with dad jokes is that the kids have heard them before. And
We're referring to a joke we've heard over and over again, so it's not funny anymore, whether it's our mum or a dad. or a
it
carer.
doesn't really matter who says it.
yeah.
So, but it's an important, actually, again, it's quite a sociological skill, isn't it? Imagine having Ross, you're head of technology. Imagine having a stack of all the jokes that you've told and in which situations. It's quite a big database.
That's a big database.
And knowing which ones you can and can't call as a function.
Yep.
I'm just trying to be really techie here.
Knowing which ones are new to a new audience.
Yeah.
or the same audience.
When we're running workshops, sometimes you get the feeling, did I say this before to this group? Because you might have run the same program before. You've got to know. And again, comedians, they do one tour and then they have to retire all the jokes from that tour because they know that they can't use them again. So that's why whatever dad joking, demeaning is going on, it's not necessarily that jokes aren't funny or that the person's not humorous, but the problem is the kids have heard it again and again and again. And they start jumping in before you get to finish the joke. Actually, partners can do this as well because they know the punch. Like Steph knows, my wife knows all my best jokes because they're all basically the same ones again.
You can see them coming.
She knows all the punchlines.
Yeah.
She knows all the so she might your partner might actually do the punchline early because she already very politely knows what's coming. And in fact, I'm going to tell you the greatest infidelity that ever happened in my marriage once. Shall I tell you about that?
Are you allowed to talk about
Yeah,
this? Okay.
for sure.
Right.
I realised Steph is absolutely brilliant, and one of the best things I like about her, she's got a brilliant sense of humour. She's very funny. She laughs easily. Actually, we watch a lot of comedy and panel shows together. That's the main thing we watch. That's our thing to watch on TV. Saturday morning or Friday night, maybe Graham Norton, maybe Would I Lie to You, one of my favourites. One day, I caught Steph laughing hilariously at another man's really not very funny joke. And I had this terrifying revelation that she's got a very low bar for just laughing.
Okay.
And I thought
Yeah.
that she thinks that I'm hilarious.
Right.
And that must be why she loves me so much, partly. And it was awful. It was
You
absolutely...
realised that your humour level was...
I realized
perhaps
she's
lower.
very easy to laugh. She's got a very low bar.
Yeah.
I'm probably not that funny, but also it's not that she thinks I'm hilarious. She just she's very happy to laugh and darn it, it was awful.
I think you're going to have to work on some new material. You're going to have to do another season, the next round of stand-up shows.
I want to work on nude material, but I'm not sure that's appropriate.
I think we should
I beg your
move on.
pardon, did you
Yeah.
say
Let's move on.
new material? I find confusing things. That's another of my favourite mechanisms. That's from just deliberately misunderstanding what someone's saying.
Let's bring it back into the work context and say we're giving a presentation for our boss's boss. It's got to be professional. It's got to be good. It's got to impress. There's a particular audience. Should we try and make things like that funny?
Sadly, I think you've got to do a utility calculation and say, what are you trying to achieve? And it sounds a bit boring, but what are you trying to achieve here? If you're trying to achieve professional credibility, and perhaps if you're a bit nervous or anything else, then you want to just be sensible. For example, if you're in a job interview, humour could be valuable, but not at the cost of making the right positive impression. The flip side is it's a very, very handy communication skill. And if you can do it well, and Ross was mentioning kind of the flow and the kind of smoothness, but if you can put that together with humour, I think, yes, I especially think in terms of engaging an audience, if you can get people laughing and really, that is a massive skill. And it's very highly valuable in society. It's a socially valued skill to be able to get groups of people laughing. You must have that in Dungeons and Dragons.
Absolutely. In fact, to be honest, I think D&D is almost like everyone having a go at stand-up together. Sometimes.
So there's permission to be silly and to explore and to say things and to try to create a laughter.
And it's a really powerful thing as well, isn't it? Because laughter does something in our brain that helps us remember things. We remember jokes in the same way that we don't remember facts. It's doing something to our brain to help us remember.
Chris, it's funny that you say that, but if you go to findapsychologist.org, the physiological effects of laughter by Lindsay Wilson Barlow.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt this podcast with choking on water.
Slapstick humour.
But we hadn't put that in.
Actually,
yeah, that would be great. Do you need a bit of water? Chucks it over face. Slapstick humour on it.
That was a very interesting point you're making there.
Yeah, but if you go to that internet site, but the laughter is actually highly valuable from a resilience point of view. Laughter lowers the stress hormone cortisol. It has an impact on our immunoglobulin levels, so it boosts our immune system, and it also stimulates our endorphins, and that is our body's natural opiate. Do you know what an opiate is, guys? Name any other opiates that you know.
Heroin.
It was whispered so gently.
I think we're all heroes here, Ross, unless you're telling us something we didn't realise. You're a heroine.
I didn't know you identified as a heroine.
But laughter stimulates the best chemicals that our body has to offer. It's a free high. And that is extremely valuable. And it creates that social shared bond. And then the great thing about the findapsychologist.org, the physiological effects of laughter by Lindsay Wilson Barlow, she also then comes on to give us some tips on how to really bring more laughter into our life. The first one is make it a goal to laugh each day.
I don't think we need to go through these.
I mean, actually, can Ross assess these tips? Okay, what do you think, Ross?
I really worry about the person who doesn't laugh every day.
Okay.
Yep.
Here's point 2. Slow down and recognise the absurdities that inevitably occur in everyday life.
I'm just worried about what happens when she gets home after a long day. She hasn't had time to think about these things, but she's promised herself that she is going to find something to laugh about every day. So sits there in bed before she goes to sleep going, I forgot to register the obscurities.
I register a lot. I love registering. You and me registering the obscurities. That's one of our things, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's good. Then schedule laughter.
Was this designed to be funny? I just find this hilarious.
And then the fourth one is surround yourself with a social network of people who appreciate and reciprocate humour. That is really important.
That's valuable. Yeah. We can all do that. I think we've done that here.
We've got that. That should be a hiring criteria.
Before we finish the podcast, Jonna, tell me more about what interactive workshops are doing. Not to be funny, but bringing enjoyment, bringing people closer together, establishing those closer relationships.
Well, humour is a part of communication skills, as we've debated a little bit. And we do a lot of work with leaders about how to communicate well, build teams. You mentioned presentation skills. So we don't really run any trainings on being a joke. I'm so sorry.
Being a joke. Definitely not that.
Deliberate confusion. But we do a lot of work on how to build true teams. And I'm reminded of one of the quotes I love from one of the generals of the British Army saying, like, if you want to forge a really tight team that really is high performing, there's got to be scope for kind of these stepping outside the bounds of the professional relationship and kind of coming together as a team and laughter is part of that. And I do think also on the communication skills level to understand the structure of how language works. We do a lot of that on communication skills training. What makes for impactful communication, and that includes understanding how to use language to give this emotional payoff that we get from laughter. So yeah, sometimes we do poetry in our workshops, don't we? But we also could do jokes. And then I think the final thing is also thinking through that resilience, and all joking aside about what a psychologist may say, but it's actually Ross's point from earlier. You've got to be able to sort of see the big perspective of yourself. I think a lot of the work we do on self-development is to get people to kind of have a better self-awareness and appreciation of the absurdity of their situation, of the absurdity that you wake up in the morning, set an alarm clock, get up, go on a train, go to work, you get a little packet of money, you go home, and you so much of your energy is wrapped up in this. But if you can't step back from that frame of work, you very quickly lose the perspective on what life is about. And so our leadership trainings in particular, we're focused on getting people to see the bigger picture and understand what the role of work is in life, actually more from a philosophical point of view, what work can do for you, what you as a leader can do for your teams. And within that obviously is the platform to understand how to bring a team together and get this connectedness that we're talking about. And then laughter and fun is a big part of that. And I guess also the way our business works is we demonstrate that energy every day. There's no one here in our office who isn't up for and can't lead a good laugh. And when we go to clients, it's not that we want to be silly and we're not necessarily making jokes, but when we arrive, there is a spirit of humour there and some quick-wittedness and some repartee and a little bit of savoir-faire, whatever that might mean. If only the French had a word for that, that would be really helpful. But yeah, that's part of the passion that we bring and put in.
Bon.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Jonna, for joining me on this episode. Join us next time and see you soon.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Chris. Thank you so much. And thank you for raising this serious subject of how we can be more humorous. It's actually quite important in the end.
It is a very serious subject, yeah. I'm glad we took it very seriously.
It really spoke to me.
Thanks for coming, Ross. Would you come back on another episode?
Absolutely, 100%.
I would love that.
I wouldn't love that, but we'll go along with it. See you next time.
See you guys.
See you next time, guys.
Thanks for watching this video by Interactive Workshops. Give it a like down below and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Click through to here or here to watch another video by Interactive Workshops.